you guys. We have Lavi on the podcast. Thank you so much for being here, girlfriend.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to get into today's kōrero. I really wanted you on the podcast because I found you online. And when I found you online, there was so many things that you talked about that I related to. Things like body image, and we'll get into that today. It's very important. You talk about your healing journey, breaking the cycle. You're a single mum as well, and on TikTok I've seen just the way that you parent your children now and things that you have learned from growing up and how you're raising your children. Yes. I love it so much, and I love what you do online. So I would love for you to start off by introducing yourself. Introduce yourself to everyone.
Well, hi, my name is Lavinia. I am full Tongan. I was born and raised in Australia. I just want to say thank you, Leash, for having me on your podcast. When you reached out to me, I really wasn't expecting it, but I was very honored that you would have me on your podcast. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm full Tongan. I have 3 kids and they're all girls. So it's a huge thing for me to really embrace who I am, because I know my girls are watching me, you know.
Yes. I love that. And you're such a good role model.
Thank
even for me, I see you inspire me so much. Even to help me think about when I have kids and what you want to instill in your kids, right? Because what they see that you do is what they keep on as well.
Of course.
So I'd love to know what it was like growing up as young Lavi.
I'm just going to refer to my notes because I get quite nervous when I'm kind of talking out loud, but I'll just refer to that. So please don't mind me looking down at my notes. So growing up as young Lavi, I am one of 9 siblings. I'm the youngest girl in my family. Growing up for me, I found was amazing because I had my siblings. There was so many siblings, so there was always that person you could rely on to talk to, or if you're feeling down, you could talk to one of your siblings. But then I also kind of felt there was another side of my childhood where as I've been healing, I've realized they were not so good things. Growing up in a Tongan household, it's a very strict household. You have so many things that you have to kind of abide by, respecting your elders, not talking back. There's a lot of things that we are taught to kind of mute ourselves. That's how I see it. So these are things that I'm slowly trying to unlearn, because having my own kids, it's something that I want them to be able to speak their mind without feeling scared or expressing themselves without worrying about the repercussions. We're all trying to learn and just building them up, really. I never had that as a child. I feel like my parents both struggled with their own traumas as kids, and becoming adults and having their own kids, they kind of had other ways where they kind of numbed their pain through alcohol. My dad was an alcoholic. My parents separated a lot as kids, so we moved a lot as kids. So there was, it's hard to talk about it, because you don't want to, I don't want to disrespect my parents, because I love them dearly, and they were only learning from what they had, if that makes sense. So but then I still want to speak my truth, because it happened to me. But now that I'm older and speaking about our childhood with my siblings, it's funny, we all grew up in the same household, but we all had different experiences of what we experienced. So it's kind of trying to respect each one's individual childhood, and validating it and saying that it's okay. So there's a lot that I'm still kind of healing from. There was, I don't want to get emotional, but I really want to speak
Mm.
about what happened, you know, things that happened to me, and something that, you know, lays heavy on my heart, and something that I've come a long way with healing was being sexually abused as a child. This is something that um, I would like to speak more on, because it's something that people don't talk about often, or they don't want to, they try to protect their family and friends and things like that, which is, you know, but I feel like if we need to normalize talking about these subjects. And um, for me, it happened at a young age. I was about 9 years old, 9 or 8. I don't know the exact timeline, but it happened to me, and it was from someone in my church. So it's something that I want to speak on, because it happened in broad daylight. It was something that could have been prevented if I had just screamed or like used my voice.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, and it's more educating your kids about these things, because I wasn't taught about them growing up, you know. So it was very, I couldn't speak. I was muted, really.
Mm.
And when I did speak about it to my family about it, they kind of just brushed it under the carpet, you know.
Mm.
So it's really something that that reminds me of my childhood, and that I'm still healing from.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so that's how my childhood kind of looked like. Just a
Mm.
young girl trying to navigate, trying to survive, really.
Yeah.
Um, but there was love. There was still love at home. Like my parents, um, you know, we had a relationship, and I think with my parents, they had a lot of trauma that they were dealing with, that it was hard for them to be present,
Mm.
um, you know, for us kids.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's something that I'm still working on. But yeah, I love them dearly. I don't want to dismiss, you know, them as parents, because they did all they could. You know what I mean?
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that and being so vulnerable to share that, because it is so important that we talk about that. And I'm
Yeah.
sorry that that happened to you. That shouldn't have happened to you. You should
Thank
have
you.
had, you know, a safe space.
Yeah.
You should have been in a safe space, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so important to talk about, because it's not till other people talk about it then you realize, like, oh, okay, like, you know, we can speak up about this. This
Hmm.
is okay for us to talk about. Even for me, when I see stuff online, like on TikTok, it's just
Hmm.
when you think about your kids, just telling them the right name for certain things.
Oh,
So that
100%.
if you could just, you know, say to your kid, hey, if somebody touches you here, here, or here,
Yeah,
and use the correct terms,
definitely.
tell mum
Yeah.
straight away. They should not touch that, you know. And
Yeah.
I've only learned that through TikTok and stuff. Okay, when I have kids, I'm going to do that, because that, like, I wasn't told that when I was young either.
Yeah. It's very taboo. Hey, those.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
definitely. Um, so yeah, I think it's beautiful that you shared that. So thank you, and
Thank
I'm
you.
glad this is a space that you can share things like that and be vulnerable.
Yeah.
I also relate to you on the term of, like, growing up in a strict household and being, it's like being seen but not heard.
Yes. Yeah.
Even as I've started to grow up, like, I had a thing with hierarchy. So if
Hmm.
somebody was higher than me, or, and I say higher, like, you're talking like principal,
Yeah.
teacher,
Hmm.
your manager at work, your
Yeah.
boss, anything like that, I would not talk back. I would
Yeah.
not ask questions. And then coming into business, I wouldn't ask people for help, or people that I would look as higher than me, because you're supposed to have this respect. If somebody's older than you, you're supposed to have that respect.
Yeah.
But it's also like, no, like, question things that are thrown at you,
Yes.
you know, have
Mhm.
conversations with people, like, yeah, so there's so much that I relate to there. So thank you for
Yeah.
sharing. I'd love to know what it's like being a single mother as well. You talk about this on TikTok. I've seen you talk about it, and you share some really, really good things. I'd love to know what it's like.
So for me, being a single parent is pretty full on. I'm not gonna lie, like working 5 days a week, and then kids in school and daycare.
Mm.
You really don't have any days off. Like you're pretty much 100% caring for these kids. So because I support my kids financially, physically, emotionally, and mentally, it can be tough. Like, so trying to prioritize time for myself, to pour back into my cup is a must, because I know when I start to get like frustrated or annoyed, I lash out at my kids. And I know that I'm like, hold up, I need to really take some time, go out, take a few deep breaths in, come back in. And I apologize to my kids all the time. Like, this is something that I normalize, because I've never ever seen my parents apologize to me. Like, growing up, we always were like, I'm the parent, I know what's right. You're a kid, you can't talk, you know what I mean? But for me, with my girls, it's more like, mum fucks up sometimes, and I'm gonna tell you when I fuck up, because I hate when I get into that sort of headspace. And my girls are so empathetic. They will come and crawl around me and like hug me and be like, you're okay, mom. Like, and for me, that's like showing them that I'm a human being as well. Like, that even though I'm a parent, I don't use that as my power. Like, I still want them to have that. I want that respect, but I still want them to be able to see me vulnerable and things like that. So yeah, there's a lot of teachings that I'm teaching myself and the kids at the same time. I think the thing that I struggle a lot with at the moment, being a single parent, is the emotional side, like supporting my girls emotionally, because there's no contact with their father. So having to hold space for them when they're feeling down or missing him has been one of the hardest things that I've been experiencing at the moment. But also validating their feelings when they are missing him, like not ignoring it, kind of letting them speak their mind, and letting them know it's okay to miss him. And the situation with what I'm in at the moment, like there is like a court order that's in place, and kind of just explaining to them that it's not their fault that they don't see him. This is something that has to be done through the courts. More explaining it to my 9-year-old daughter. She understands a lot more about what's happening and seeing what I went through. But it's more the younger two that are kind of not understanding. So that, for me, emotionally supporting them has been difficult, because I have to kind of like, I have to hold space for them. But not only that, I never had that as a child. So I'm learning myself. Like, I never got my feelings validated. So it's so hard for me, like, to get to that point where I'm like, it's okay, like hugging them, showing them love like that. It's hard for me because I never got showed that, when I had times of like sadness, and that is kind of like, you just suck it up and you'll be fine. But for me, it's kind of, yeah, it's a learning curve. I'm still learning as I go. Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's one thing that I wish I had growing up as well, is my parents just talking to me and telling me what happened. Because as kids, like, you just like, you make everything, you're so what's the word, like, I don't want to say like self-centered, but like you think it's all because of you, like everything. Yeah. Oh, mum's sad because of me, I made mum cry, or dad's upset because of me, like everything is because of me that's happening. But I wish that my parents were just like, you know what, mum's sad today and it's okay to be sad. And, like, and then tell me why you're sad, and then I'll be like, oh, okay, it makes sense. And then when I grow up and feel sad because of something, I'm like, oh yeah, that's what my mum used to feel, so it's normal. Like, so it's beautiful that you share that with your children.
Because I think when I started seeking therapy, after going through all the court and things like that, and it really helped me a lot to kind of understand my own feelings and why I'm feeling a certain way. And it really helped me to understand that like it's not my fault, like, to feel sad, and like to show the emotion to my kids. Because when I would tell my therapist, like, I get so frustrated, but like I I always try to be strong for my girls, and like I don't want to cry. And she's like, why do you do that? She's like, you need to cry in front of them. They need to see that you're real and that you're human and that you get sad sometimes. So like, yeah, that was something that really helped me, like you said, like be able to express myself and let the girls see me that way, not just always holding up a front and like, mommy's got this, like, no. So I've just only recently started like showing emotions in front of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's, and I feel like it helps because they really see a different side to me, other than being that, I'm the mom and I'm like, I don't cry and I'm, like they always think I'm the superwoman. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I have my days.
Yeah, and it'll be nice for them as well to, because for me growing up, like there wasn't much, like you weren't really shown, like there wasn't like I love you or like showing I love, like, or if people cry, like I didn't really have that, so it'd be really awkward.
Yeah.
This would be nice for them because if someone does cry or someone does, then they're just like, oh yeah, like that's normal, I can hold space or I can hug them or whatever they need to do. Whereas for me, when I grow up and someone would be like I love you, I'd be like, what the, like from me, like what are you doing? Like
Very like weird to
yeah,
hear
it's so weird.
that. Yeah.
So it's nice. It's so beautiful for them. I'd love for you to share. You talk a lot about your healing journey,
Mhm.
and I've heard you say, I want to break the cycle. So I'd love for you to share on that and like, what does breaking the cycle mean to you?
So for me, breaking the cycle is, it's been a tough one healing, hey, because it's something that you really have to surrender yourself to. You really have to let go of all the things that you try and uphold and really feel that inner child that's been crying to be nurtured. You know what I mean? I think it was until I had kids that I really saw that there was my little young self in me. Like I started seeing things like, it's like seeing your younger self walking around when you see your kids. And then you're like, when you lash out and do things, you're just like, why am I doing that? Like that was me when I was a kid, and all I wanted to be is loved and all I wanted to be is held. Like, so then it's kind of, it's a constant reminder that you have so much work to do on yourself. Like, and it's, my healing journey started probably about 2 years ago. But last year would have to be my most growth in my healing journey. I've actually done a lot of spiritual work. Like I've been doing like Reiki. I've been going to like workshops for healing and things like that, healing from traumas, meditating. Been doing a lot of inner work.
Mm,
And it's hard because it hurts. It's so painful. It's not something that's comfortable, very uncomfortable for me, but um, it's so necessary for me, to become the healthiest version for my kids, like to have a healthy mum, mentally, spiritually. Um, and I mean, spiritually, I mean, like people would, there's a lot of stigma with like spirituality, crystals and things like that. Um, a lot of people think that when you grow up religious, it's like frowned upon when you start seeking like different ways of spiritual ways. It's kind of like, well, yeah, you only can believe in God and this is the only way and God can heal you. But it's like, no, but there's other ways you can heal as well. It's not just through,
mm,
God. Like I feel like kind of normalizing seeking other avenues of healing and not just um, through the church. And I'm not saying I'm not religious. Well, I mean, I grew up as a Mormon. My mum was very a strict Mormon, and my dad wasn't. Oh, he pretty much didn't go to church. He was just a free spirit. And then so as I kind of grew up, I kind of just, I mean, I believe that you can believe in God, but you don't have to necessarily be in a church
mm,
to, have a strong faith. He's everywhere. I believe that. Um, yeah, so spiritually, I've been finding out a lot about myself within my healing journey. Um, and it can get lonely though, because you don't have many people that talk about it or understand what you're saying, you know. It's kind of like another language for some people.
Mm.
um, I'm not sure if you would feel the same way, kind of like how it's been healing for you.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny though because like my sisters are very religious. I grew up in a Rastafarian church, but it was kind of
Yeah.
a Christian way.
Mhm.
Um, and my younger sisters are really religious. But we have such beautiful conversations because the stuff that they say, there's so much similarities in the mahi that I do, like more like spiritual work, like you're saying,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
There's so many similarities. So when they say, like, when they refer to like God or something, I would refer to universe or
Yeah,
myself, or,
yeah,
stuff like that. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's the same thing. Like it's really much, or I don't know. I don't know if it's same thing, but similar. So I could
yeah,
see
I know
all
what
the
you mean.
similarities. So I'm
Mhm.
like, if that's what's helping them and healing them, good. Like as long as it's something positive, right?
That's
And then
right.
for me, and I love that they're like they have no problem with me being, because I wouldn't call myself religious. So,
Yeah,
but they're okay with that,
yeah,
and not like
that's beautiful.
push something on me.
Yeah,
Um, and we have such beautiful and when they talk about God, like I'm not going to be like what, like I'm
yeah,
open to. I'm like, oh yeah, 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 like cool.
yeah.
Like,
It's
yeah.
it's respecting people's you know, beliefs and things like that, and still having that love for them at the same time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's beautiful to hear, that you've gone on to this healing journey. What made you get into this avenue or starting healing?
So I think I feel like once I started my self-love journey, that opened up a lot of doors of like really being self-aware, understanding how I feel around certain people, setting healthy boundaries with situations. And then once I started seeing that, then kind of, I knew that there was something more deeper in me that needed healing. Like as much as you love yourself to the point where you're like, okay, I'm gonna, you know, start taking care of myself, like, you know, doing your hair, whatever it is. And then
Mhm.
you're like, that's a basic self-love, but then it's like kind of the inner self-love that you have to do, you know, love yourself enough to say no to people, love yourself enough to feel the kind of energies around you and be like, hold on, this person makes me feel weird. Like, I'm just going to back away. You know, it's all these things started to pop up. And then once I started taking a deeper look into healing, and that's when I kind of been more active on TikTok. I started following more accounts of healing and things like that. And then I was like open to this new world of like, you know, people healing their traumas, releasing all that kind of tension from that they've held on to for so long about, you know, things happening to them or as kids. And so yeah, I feel like TikTok really helped a lot with that journey.
Mm.
And that's why I love that. I mean, the app, there's so much information on the app that is free access, you know, for us.
Anything I need, I go on TikTok. Like that's my search engine. I'm like, how am I feeling today? If I need to like, or like looking into like body acceptance, for
Yeah,
example,
yeah,
like stuff like that, I'd look on there, or
yeah,
different, yeah, healing, like how you said Reiki and stuff. I
yeah,
look,
yeah.
start typing in, oh, how's their journey been? Like, reviews, everything. It's on there.
It's the best. Like as much as there's so much like you know, people saying bad things about TikTok. Oh, you spend so much time on there and this and that. But I'm like, you also need to like follow accounts that will help you grow, you know, not just watching people dancing and things like that. I mean, which is fine, but like I feel like there needs to be a purpose of who you're following and making sure that your newsfeed is always what your intentions are, not, you know,
Yes.
kind of drowning it with all like unnecessary things of like
Yeah.
what's happening around the world. You kind of just want to see things that kind of being mindful of what you're watching. Actually, that
Yeah,
would be the word for it.
yeah, definitely.
Mm.
Definitely. So speaking of TikTok, I think one of the first posts I saw on there was about your body image and your body journey. And
Mm.
I saw on your TikTok bio you have, is it body neutral?
Yes.
So
body neutrality, yeah.
could you speak on that and then speak on your journey with that as well?
Yeah, so this is a big topic to talk about, because I've come a long way. I've did the whole dieting, I've did the whole, it's been a journey. It hasn't been all the same the whole way. For me, growing up, I struggled with body image. I really struggled with the way I looked. I really questioned why I had these features, like this big nose, and I had big curly hair. And my family would mock me for being the darkest. They'd be like, "Oh, you're so black," or like, so I always felt like there was something wrong with me. I never, in the Polynesian way, they say like, the fairer you are, the more prettier you are. Like that was how I was. It was kind of set in my mind. So, and like seeing magazines and reading books and things, and all you'd see is those blonde hair, blue eye girls, and you kind of just feel like, why do I look like this? You question yourself so much. And then so when as I grew up, I still had a lot of insecurities, didn't accept I wondered why my thighs were so big, or like, just everything about my body. If it felt like there was something wrong with me. Then it wasn't until I started my self-love journey, probably about 4 years ago, kind of just really looking at myself and understanding that I'm unique, and that, all these features I have are like passed down from my ancestors, and these are things that I should be so proud of, and it took a while, but then also understanding body neutrality. So it's neither loving or hating your body, but respecting your body for what it does for you every day, how it gets you up in the morning, that bodies fluctuate, and that's normal. Like, not being obsessed with having a flat stomach, or like, why I have stretch marks or cellulite. It's kind of just saying like, our body is a body, and that it changes, and that's okay, because I think society makes us so consumed with being thin, like, oh, you have to be thin to look good. And I mean, there's a point where, if you're feeling uncomfortable in your body, do what you need to do to get yourself to a place where you feel comfortable, but not like pushing it to a point where you're like obsessing over the scales, or obsessing over what you're eating. Eating should be, it should be fun. It shouldn't be restricted. Like, I feel like having a balance in eating, like not restricting yourself, like you can't eat that because that's bad, or not really labeling food. It's just saying food's food. Whatever you feel like nourishes your body, eat more of that. But if you have a cake, eat the cake, like, but being mindful about what you're eating and how you're eating, how it makes you feel, like just being more aware of like yourself and how you feel when you eat certain foods. Also, yeah, and I feel like having daughters of my own really pushed me to kind of set the bar for them, like not having to, because I questioned myself so much as a child. I never wanted my kids to question themselves. And, my daughter, Diamond, my eldest, there was a point where she was getting bullied so much because kids were calling her fat. And it broke my heart so much, because I'm trying to build this girl up, but it made me realize that I can't protect her. Like, I can't protect her from the outside world. There's going to be people that are going to throw things at her, but I need to build her up to the point where she's almost like untouchable. You know what I mean? So I really had to make sure I kind of fed life into her. I really made sure, reading affirmations to her, like feeding life into her so that she doesn't have to question herself. And anytime she did question herself, like, oh, mom, my hair's so crazy. And I'm like, baby, your hair's not crazy. Your hair is beautiful, because this is passed down from your grandmothers, your great grandmothers. I go, there's so many girls who died to have curly hair like yours, or thick hair like yours, But for me, I never had that. So I always hated my curly hair, and I always wanted to straighten it and things like that. And then it also got to a point where I had to embrace my own curls in order for my daughter love hers, because she's like, well, if you're telling me to love my curls, but you straighten your hair, so she was questioning me. So really, I had a journey where I just left my hair curly for months, like 8 months or so. I just didn't touch it. But then, yeah, so it's kind of like you have to be that reflection for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you just took like everything you're saying. I'm like, yes. Like one thing after another. I'm like, yes, yes, yes. Totally, totally relate to. Even the curly hair thing I relate to
Yeah.
as well. I would straighten my hair with the freaking iron all
Yeah.
the time. And people would say to me that they'd be like, did you brush your hair today? Or like I had an ex-boyfriend who would like always ask me to straighten my hair when I would go see him.
Oh,
And I was
so
like, you're
minded.
kidding, right? Like,
Yeah.
are you kidding me? So yeah, now it's more about embracing those curls. And like you said, like talking about, this is where this hair came from your ancestors and stuff like that. I've never really
Mhm.
thought of it that way. So that's beautiful
Yeah.
to think about as well.
Yeah.
The stuff you were talking about body image that I was going to say something about.
I know it's something you talk a lot about as well on your platform. So I feel like every time you chat about it, I'm always like, yes, I feel you. I understand those feelings. Like it's a constant war you kind of have with your head. But like finding people that are on that journey with you is such a beautiful thing, because it's, people are still struggling with body image, especially with social media and like things being thrown at you, like that hourglass figure to be the perfect body and all that. So finding your tribe, people that kind of have the same mindset, it's really nice.
Yeah, like my personal TikTok is full of like plus size baddies, like everything that happens on there. I'm like, I love this place so much. Like, it's crazy, but it is like building your environment, right? Because then I feel more empowered, and I feel like I've built my own safe space where I can post stuff about what I've been going through. Because I just posted, I think it was yesterday as well. I was cleaning out my phone, and I had come across this picture. I was on a quad bike and I had like a stomach roll, and I had blurred the out. And I was scrolling through my phone and I saw the blur and my face like just dropped. And I was like, oh my God. And then I went back to that space.
Yeah.
And I was like, I remember that time, and I had got my partner to take the photo of me, and he showed me it, and I was like, get the angles, tell me to suck my stomach in. What are you doing? Like, you should know that's not what I want. Like, I would take it out on him and it would ruin my whole day. And I would be so caught up on it. And then I saw the picture unblurred. So I swiped to the next picture, it was unblurred. And I was like, what the hell, Leash? You look freaking incredible. Like, what are you doing?
That's
but
what I mean.
in that moment in time, I was surrounded by people that would talk shit about themselves, that would talk shit about their weight, that would say that rolls are ugly, or you'll see them that like they'll sit up straight or cover their rolls, or they'll just say like comments about their weight. And I feel like I took that on as well. Like a lot of the stuff that I've found when it comes to body image and body, my accepting my body, I go back to the moments, when did I first hear that? When did I first think that about myself? And it's not even my thoughts, it's people around me. I'm like, okay, you can have that back, because I actually do think that this is beautiful. Like, I think that I look incredible right now. And don't get me wrong, there's days where I look in the mirror and I'm like, what the fuck, like what happened? Like, this is not right. But also, that's what you talked about, knowing that part where you feel uncomfortable, where you don't feel good, where you are actually having some health complications. And I found that as well when I get to a certain point, I'm like, okay, I've actually noticed I've eaten food that's not good, like it's not nourishing my body right now. So I need to change it up to feel better. So but I wouldn't. The old me would be like, I need to starve myself, I need to lose weight, this is why I'm feeling bad. But now it's just like, oh, actually, okay, I need to eat more nourishing foods for myself. And like you said, not labeling foods good and bad, or like, oh, this is bad, or no junk food, or limiting yourself. It's like, have your salad but also have your cake too, if that's
definitely. It's not something that we should restrict, because that's when we feel guilt. And then it's just being more in tune with your body and how you're feeling. And yeah, I think that's the main priority with understanding yourself and trusting your body. You know, a lot of us don't trust our bodies, you know, we don't give that full trust, but it's like, why would you not trust your body? It's carried you for all these years. It's literally got you from the out of the darkest places in your life, you know, times where you thought you were gonna give up and not go on. Like your body has literally done all
Yes.
that for you, you know what I mean? So serve it by trusting it, letting it make the decision for you, like eating that cake and then saying, oh, hold on, I'm full, I've had enough, like pushing it away, you know. That's trusting your body, trusting, you know.
Even you also said when you're around people and you get certain feelings, like if you get that gut feeling, do something, like don't ignore it. That's your
No,
body
yeah,
telling you something.
yeah.
What are they telling you? You know, don't ignore those gut feelings and all those signs from your body. Yeah, we get
Our body's amazing, to be honest. Like it has so many amazing, it does so many amazing things for us. Like it tells us when, you know, we're not feeling good. It tells us when there's certain energies are not good. Like
yeah.
there's so many good things about it. And it makes me sad that people don't serve their body or you know, this is our house. This is our being. Like just love it that extra more. Like there's so much happening in the world. Why don't you just love yourself more? You know?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I also came across, I said TikTok so many times, but I came across a TikTok where you had 10 things you teach your daughters to help them with healthy body image.
Yeah.
And that TikTok, I saved it. I watched it, I think, like 5 times. And I was like, yes, yes, yes. Because even if like for you it's for your daughters, but I'm like, yes, I need to teach myself that as well, or those are things that I need to keep telling myself and keep
Yeah.
implementing in my life. So I'd love for you to share what they are. Also, like, how did it come about, and why is it so important to you?
Um, so it didn't really, like, it wasn't something that I kind of like sat and said, these are like 10 things I'm going to teach my kids. It was more like a over time, as I was learning to love myself, I kind of picked certain things out and I'm like, I want to teach this to my child. I want to, you know, show her these things. And that's kind of how it came about. But it's not something that I say out loud to them. So like, oh, I'm going to tell you these 10 things about loving your body. It's kind of like just an everyday thing that you just incorporate with your life, like, so that they can just kind of embed it in their heads.
Mm.
So I've just written it down. I'm just going to read it for you. So teaching them about body neutrality, which is what we spoke about, neither loving or hating your body, but rather being grateful for all the things that it does for you. Um, and then number two, I don't talk about diet in front of them. I also have told my family members not to talk about diet or weight loss. I don't own scales in my house. I got rid of scales a couple of years ago when I just um, started my journey of loving myself and accepting my body, understanding that scales is just a number. It doesn't define who you are. So number three, teaching my girls about puberty and that their body's going to change, and that it's normal. Puberty and talking about this subject is something that I never got taught as a child. So when I started growing like body hair and like all these things, I used to think that something was wrong with me because my mum never told me. Even when I got my periods, I was crying. She wasn't there. She didn't warn me about it. So this is something that's really big for me to teach my girls, is that puberty, you know, is going to happen and that it's normal and it's how we become women. So my daughter, like Diamond, she's got like armpit hairs and she's 9 years old. She got it at, I think, about 8 years old. And when she discovered her first hair, we kind of celebrated it. We were like, yeah, you got your first armpit hair. So it was like, you know, something that is celebrated, not kind of like, oh my God, you got hair, like, let's shave it off. No. Even like to her first stretch mark, we discovered her first stretch mark and she's like, oh mom, I've got the same ones like you. And I'm like, yay, you know, like it's not like making them feel like there's something wrong with them. I'm just like, you're growing up to be a big girl now, and like, this is like things that you go through. And then I kind of explained to her how stretch marks work. So they come like a reddish color, and they get a bit itchy, and then they kind of fade to a white. And then we're comparing my stretch marks, and she was just loving that. Number 4, I also like to buy a kids book that encourage body positive. Kmart sells like books about love your body, showing them, sharing books that have like disability and, short people, tall people, round people, skinny people, like just in general, like not showing them that there's bodies are all shapes and sizes. Number 5, like physical activity is a great way to move your body, and training, moving your body rather than using it to change your body. I always talk about how training for me is kind of like, I always like to see what my body can do. So when I'm lifting something and I'm like, oh my God, I just lifted 120 kilos, like that for me is like an accomplishment. Whereas, I never fixate about like, oh, I'm going to the gym so I can lose weight on my arms, or like never. Like it's more just training so you can see what your body's capable of. And my eldest daughter does football. She plays football and she loves it. And she's like the biggest girl there, but she can tackle like, all these kids, and she scores so many tries. And I'm like, I never focus on her, being a bigger girl. It's more like, look how powerful you are on that field, look how strong you are. Like she loves it. And she never ever hears me saying, oh, like you should go train and like lose weight. None of that. We don't talk that language. So number 6 is understanding that clothing sizes fluctuate in different brands. Like, some measurements are different in other brands, and that it doesn't matter what size you are, it's how the clothes fit your body that matters. That's the most important thing. So yeah, my daughter doesn't even know what size she is. I literally just tell her to try all these clothes on, and then we pick whatever she feels comfortable in. We never like look at the size and be like, oh, you're a size, this. And if, because the worst feeling is focusing on size and realizing, oh, that doesn't fit me, and I'm a size 16, but it's like, but each brand is different measurements. So it's not, that. Number 7, we spoke about this, about, her having her curly hair, her nose and things like that is all passed down from her ancestors. And our ancestors were, warrior goddess. I always say this to my girls, your ancestors were warrior goddess, and they had this big, big hair, and they had these thick thighs, and, they were amazing like warriors. And that's something I really like teach them, my girls as well. Teaching them that, anyone that says anything negative about their body are usually people that aren't happy with themselves. So I always like try and let them know that there are people going to say things about you, people going to say some mean things, but you have to understand it's their own insecurities projecting it onto you. So never take it to heart. It's literally them as a person. Also, number 9, complimenting their character rather than their looks. Like, so just, complimenting them, saying that they're brave, you're strong, you're resilient, you're funny, rather than focusing on, oh, you're beautiful, their features or their looks. Number 10, normalize teaching our kids the correct terms of private parts, teaching them that they can wear whatever they want, and that, not sexualizing their bodies. So that's a huge part. My kids, know the correct term of every private part, vagina to their breasts, to, their lips, everything. No safe touching and not so safe touching and things like that. Something I really embed in their head, is knowing the correct terms of their body parts. But yeah, that's 10 of them that I wrote down.
So good.
Yeah.
Going on from 10 as well, it made me think of a lot of things. But another thing was, in the Polynesian culture, when, family members come over, you're always told like, oh, go greet them, go say hi to them, go give uncle and auntie a kiss or whatever and stuff like that. And sometimes you just don't want to do that. Like, you don't want to hug people, you don't want to kiss them. You like, you don't want to do that, but your
Um,
parents are like, go do it. That's disrespectful if you don't. That's so rude. That just made me think of that, because I'm like, that when I don't have kids, but when I have kids,
mhm.
it's going to be optional for them,
Yeah,
because I don't want them thinking that anybody can come. And you know, the uncles and aunties that come and grab you and kiss you. I used to do this to my nephews and nieces. I would just
yeah,
grab them and like smush them, because I'm
yeah,
like, oh, they're just shy. They don't.
yeah,
No, it's like, oh, can I have a kiss? Can I
yeah.
have a hug? Because they need to know that people can't just come up on you and start kissing you and hugging you and stuff like that. That's your body, and you need to say,
Respect it. Yeah.
you need to, yeah, and they need to respect your body too, and you need to say something. And it's okay to say something. It's okay to be like,
Yes, they
actually,
know.
I don't, yeah, I don't want to hug. Actually, I don't feel like hugging you. I don't feel like getting kisses right now. Or no, I don't want to go say hi to them and kiss them and hug them. Usually there's a reason why as well. So as a parent, you're probably
Yeah.
like, why not? Let's have a conversation about this.
Yeah,
So
it's something that I notice as well. And my kids know, I tell them, I've told them years ago, you don't have to kiss anyone that, when we go
mm,
family, even when we go to like family events, I'm like, you don't have to kiss anyone that you don't want to kiss. And usually I tell them, if they don't want to kiss them, just high five them or fist pump them. Like, but I don't force my kids to kiss people. And it's so awkward because some people are like, oh, come give auntie a kiss. And then my kids are just standing there like, they don't move. And I'm like, oh, she doesn't feel like saying, kiss, like saying hello or like thing. But I just like let them walk off. And then um, usually my kids will just kind of high five them or fist pump them. But I just don't, so against like forcing kids to, even when kids kiss me, I'm like, I just kind of tap them and hug them or like tap them on the side and then that's it. Like, unless it's someone that like, is like, oh, auntie, and gives me a kiss, I'll be like welcoming to it. But other than that, if kids are like in the around and they're like, oh, hi, say hi to auntie, and I'll kind of just like tap them or like just, high five them. I don't even, it feels weird kissing kids as well, like for me.
yeah.
So yeah, I agree with what you're saying. And, for us, it was like, go kiss your auntie, go, do all that. But it's like, usually kids, when they don't want to, it is a sign like,
Mm.
something might be up or something like that. So yeah, it's respecting their bodies, really teaching them that, people need to respect your body. It's giving consent as well, giving consent for, people, you know, kissing you, or even like as they get older, when they get in relationships, that people need to have consent with any of that.
Absolutely. You also talked about, telling your family members like not to talk about their weight loss or diets or stuff like that. How did that conversation go, or what's the kind of conversation that you have with them?
Well, I feel like because my family already know what I'm about and what I stand for, and because I share it a lot on my social media, it wasn't really hard for me to talk about it. And because I am quite open with, my journey, they pretty much knew like what I stood for. So when I did mention it with one of my sisters, it wasn't really like you can't say that. It was like, oh, I just prefer if you just don't talk about it in front of my kids. Like, it wasn't like I don't want you to talk about it, because some people want to lose weight and like for health reasons, which is fine. But I think it was more like, can you just not talk about it in front of my kids? Or it's still respecting them, in the sense of like respecting that they want to do that, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Giving them that option. But my family were okay, like they weren't against it. It was just more like being mindful. And it's funny because my daughter is very she's a very confident little girl, and she's never questioned her looks or anything, because I think because I've really embedded in her that you're unique, you're different, and like that's your superpower. Whereas,
Mm,
when I hear stories of like family members of them, struggling with their kids having body image, like it really like makes me sad, because I know that kids are you know, they have so much around them that they see. So it's trying to get parents, or you know, them to build their kids up in, and being able to help them um what to say to kids, you know, without making them insecure, if that makes sense. You know, and really monitoring what the kids are seeing on their social media and things like that. There's so many factors that can can, you know, change the way the kids thinks, because they're exposed to so much.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's the thing, eh? Because it's like you can't hide them from the world or save them
no,
from the world. But the thing is, you've built them up so much, so when they get out into the world and something happens, you know, someone says something or somebody talks, you know, some kind of way, it's like they're so good in themselves
yeah,
that they're like, no, like, oh, okay, that's yours, like that's your
yeah,
problem or whatever, and they keep it moving.
yeah,
Like, so I love that. I love all
yeah.
that. I also wanted, there was, I think it was number 6, you talked about the clothing as well. And something
Mhm.
that someone said recently to me was that really helped me and I wanted to share was that clothing, I hope I don't butcher this. As clothing is supposed to, clothing is supposed to fit you. You're not supposed to fit clothing. So if you
I
get
think I've
clothes,
heard that. Yeah,
yeah, if you get clothes and it doesn't fit you, it's nothing on you. It's the
yeah,
clothing's fault. Like, oh, the
yeah,
clothes, it's not even the clothing's fault, but like, oh, the clothing doesn't fit me.
yeah,
Okay. Like, so the clothing needs to fit me, not me trying to fit into the clothing.
yeah, yeah. Oh, sorry, I just got you what you said now. I kind of process. I'm like, yeah, yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, definitely.
And number 9, how you said, you know, talking about their character over their looks. Like, I get that in life too. Like when someone says, Leash, I love your energy. I'm like,
Yes,
oh my
I
goodness, thank you so much. But they're like, Leash, you look beautiful or you look pretty or whatever. I'm like,
did roll your
oh,
eyes. You're just like,
like thanks.
yeah. I agree with that. I love getting complimented. I got a compliment on my TikTok. Someone said, "Oh, I love your energy. I love your vibe." And that for me, like you get complimented. Oh, you look so beautiful and things like that. And I'm like, oh, thanks. But definitely when someone compliments your character is like top tier. Like there's nothing beats that. I think like I would rather that over looks any day. You know.
Absolutely. I love these 10 things. And I can relate to them so much. And I feel like that those are 10 things I'm going to take for me
Yeah.
and for my kids that I have. So thank
Yeah.
you so much for that.
You're welcome.
This is our last question actually, but it's what's been your hardest lesson in life?
I think for me, definitely my building my self-worth, building my self-worth and my healing journey has been one of the hardest things I've had to face with doing work on myself. Yeah, because it's something that I've had to teach myself, and I'm constantly falling short. But I'm also building myself up, and that's been really hard, you know. Um, but I've gotten so much better from like this year. I feel like I've gotten a lot better with my self-worth, and um, yeah, it's not. That's probably the hardest thing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to speak more about that, like your self-worth, I guess journey? Like
Yeah.
where did it start or
So my self-worth is something I struggled with because growing up, I never had my mum wasn't really a good role model with, she struggled with self-worth. So
mm,
my dad was constantly like, he never really spoke life into my mum. So she was always like kind of second guessing herself, always trying to live up to the standard for my dad, but she never really like had self-worth. So growing up, I felt the same way. Like my mum was constantly on diets. She was constantly trying to lose weight, trying to fit in or trying to get the approval from my dad. Um, so for me, that was something that I've kind of believed in myself. So, and then going into a relationship with my kid's father, um, my self-worth just went down and down. Like I just, like I thought nothing of myself. I was constantly like um, beating myself up about like, you know, "Oh, I'm not good enough," or like bad about myself. So once I left that relationship, it was more discovering who I am and like finding out how to build myself up. Um, and through this is, you know, I do a lot of affirmations because it's really in your mindset and believing in who you are, you know, building yourself up to the point where you do, when you do feel like you're going through like a rough patch or like you're struggling with something in life, that's when you start to kind of be like, you know, saying bad things about yourself, but it's pulling yourself up and being like, hold on, I just experienced that, but you know, it's not a bad thing. Like it's okay to feel bad, but then, you know, getting over it. Like you're not going to sit in that thought and then, you know, bring yourself down more. Because I feel like we all kind of do that. We all go through lives and life can be good and then you hit like a rough patch and then you question your whole worth. And it's like, no, hold on, like that's okay that I went through that and it's not going to last forever. I just need to move forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Mm,
I love that.
yeah.
Good. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Like, I feel like we've covered so much goodness
Yeah.
in this episode, so many important things to talk about. I love the journey that you're on, and I love that you've shared that with the world, you know, with the TikTok world. And I love that I found you and that our worlds collided. And finally, we get to talk to each other because we talk
I
so much
know.
online, but not
I
so much
know.
you know, one-on-one like this. So thank you for taking the time out of your day to talk about this. Thank you for being vulnerable and for sharing. I love the mahi that you do. I'm so proud of the mahi that you do, not only, you know, healing yourself, but you know, for your children as well. Like that's huge. And
Yeah.
then putting it on social media and inspiring so many others and helping so many others. So thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for everything that you do. Being a
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed my time here. And I hope that, like, you know, someone can take away a little bit of what I said and, you know, practice it or, you know, just feel like, you know, you can speak your truth and tell your story without the shame and the, you know, the kind of guilt for just expressing yourself, you know. I hope that people can just start being their true authentic self and expressing who they are without, yeah, that judgment. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm going to link your TikTok as well so people can find you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.